But how will all of these overnight cues impact our own markets? We have our research team joining in with how the trade setup looks like and the stocks that are likely to be in the news today. Good morning, everyone. First up, Sudarshan is joining in to get us all the market cues we need to watch out for today. Sudarshan, how's the setup looking like?
Morning, Harma. So, well, if you thought that Friday was a speed breaker, come Monday, market has regained most of the losses it saw that day and closed near day's high. Nifty held on to levels about 24,100 and sensex about 79,000. And the recovery was led by IT, which saw buying ahead of their quarterly earnings, and brokerages see earnings improving for the majority of the IT names. Even banks too saw a selective buying that can be easily seen in the contribution list of Nifty. Major Nifty contributors yesterday were HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank, Infosys, TCS and Tech Mahindra. Talking about the mid-caps, the outperformance has continued, and that was the reason market breadth has remained healthy in favor of advances. Also, its impact was seen in institutional activities. We saw big buying by DIs for second straight day. Shifting to global cues, on equity front, there wasn't much of a move. All three major US indices saw a close with minor gains, but concerns for us are yield and crude. US 10-year yield is now moving back to the level of 4.5%, and crude sees a further move, and Brent is now at $87 per barrel. And tracking all these, GIFT Nifty is indicating a start with minor gains, but at a record high for Nifty. Lastly, in the cues to watch, keep an eye on all these auto companies, especially Hero Moto, Tata Motors and TVS Motors, which have reported monthly sales post-market. And lastly, Fed chairman's speech is scheduled for today evening.
A record high, another record high on the anvil, if I can say that. Sudarshan, thanks a lot for that. Now over to Vamakshi, who would list up the stocks to watch out for in today's session. Vamakshi, good morning. Auto sales, business updates, what's on your list today?
Well, absolutely, Hormaz. It's a long list as always. Let me first start off with the auto sales. Keep an eye out on Hero Motor Corp. Total sales were up nearly 15.2% at 5.03 lakh units, and this has come in much better than what analysts were expecting. TVS Motors reported a jump of 5% in total sales at 3.34 lakh units. This is slightly lower than what analysts were expecting, but Tata Motors, total domestic sales were down 8%, CV sales were down 7%, and PV sales were down 8%. But the exports have picked up. They were up nearly 13% for the month gone by. Apart from that, operational updates have started to come through. South Indian Bank in its first quarter has reported gross advances downtick of nearly 10% on a YOY basis. Total deposits have also declined by 8%, but the CASA ratio has slightly improved to 32.64%. CSB Bank, on the other hand, has a good operational update. Gross advances saw an uptick of 18% and total deposits were up nearly 22%. NMDC in its June business update reported a downtick of 3% in its production and a downtick of nearly 9% in its total sales. They've also gone ahead and cut iron ore lump and iron ore fines by nearly rupees 500 per ton. Order wins galore for Welspun Specialty Solutions. They've received contract worth 117 crores. DCX Systems has received an order worth 1,250 crores. KPI Green has received Chief Electric Inspector's approval. This is for a couple of solar projects. Carousel has, the QIP has opened for this counter yesterday. The floor price has been set at 837.89 per share. Patanjali Foods will be acquiring entire non-food business undertaking for Patanjali Ayurved for 1,100 crores. And lastly, let's focus in on IOCL Chemicals, and that is because China's Drug Regulatory Authority, NMPA, has approved the company's product fenofibrate, and this approval in turn will enable the company to export its API in the Chinese market.
Plenty of stocks as always, Vamakshi. Thanks a lot for that update. And lastly, Nigel is joining in with cues from the FNO space. Nigel, good morning. Close to a record high now. What's the setup looking like?
Well, that's right. Flows seem to be very solid, Hormuz, particularly from the domestic flows that we're seeing. And that's the reason why the market continues to climb. Any kind of, headwind that comes in front of it. Just one point out here, the RSI is moving up. And in fact, it's moved to those levels where, you see some bit of a pullback. So let's see how that pans out. And with regard to the US market, so the headline index ended in the green. Yeah, the Russell 2000 that actually ended in the red. So the broader markets didn't really participate overnight. Let's get straight to the FNO cues then. The FI as well, they added, some mild long positions in yesterday's trading session. And now the positioning is such that the net longs are around 3.5 lakh contracts. In percentage terms, the long positioning is at around 83%. And you pull up a chart of the FI and the client positioning, well, they are on opposite ends of the spectrum. The FI is a net long with 3.5 lakh contracts. The clients are net short with around 2.6 lakh contracts. That's on index futures. But on stock futures, both of them are on the same side. So that's telling you that, in fact, we like to see more stock-specific action from here on, because on stock futures, both of them are net long on, as the screen is telling you. Now, in yesterday's trade, we ended higher and you saw some bit of writing, 24,000 put, 24,100 put, which is telling you that at around the 23,800 odd, which we were at just a couple of sessions or so ago, went to around 23,805. That should be the first reference point on the downside. For those who are holding long positions, you want to mark that, that particular level, 23,800. On the upside, 24,250 could be a near-term resistance zone. If we get past that, then maybe, in fact, we get a couple of percentage points as well that move up. And since it's Tuesday, we'll be looking at the Nifty Financial Services Index because that plays out the weekly expiry. So that will be the mover in the last hour of trade. Back to you.
That'll keep the Nifty Bank in focus as well. Nigel, thanks a lot for that. Time for a short break. Up